What's up, guys? Thanks for popping in today. Wanted to give you a little bit of a video, kind of a simple video, but I get a lot of questions about this guitar that I play quite a bit of, almost exclusively as far as strats go. And I've done a video regarding this guitar, but I figured I could give you a pretty in-depth video of it. My 1959 Stratocaster. This guitar has been just part of my playing. It was the first vintage Fender I owned, and I remember the moment where I agreed to buy it, taking a chance on it, and the people, I was excited, and I just remember I was in a craft store and I made the deal, and this guitar changed my life, and it opened my eyes to a lot of amazing things. So I saw this guitar on Reverb from a reputable seller about 5 years ago now, and I sent him a message for some more pictures and more information, and he obliged and really kind and helped me out with my nerves and making an extensive purchase like this. And then I stepped away from it. I sent the link to my pal Phil Sace, and he said, well, 59s are known for their taper neck. It's a first year rosewood. They have a funky feeling to them, and so I kind of just like, maybe I'll look. And then, I went every avenue. Maybe I'll buy every part and build a guitar. And that was just going to become, crazy expensive. I remember watching the listing and seeing it gone. And I instantly had that, oh, I should have did this. I should have did that. And then I sent him an email. I said, oh man, I missed out on that Strat, and he said, no, I still got it. It's just not really selling. So I think I'm going to part it out. And when I first saw this guitar, a little backstory, it was for sale through a great guy, this guy Brian Goff, and the entire guitar was spray painted black. I knew it was spray paint just by the pictures, like somebody doing a quick spray paint job, no prep work. It was horrible. The strap buttons were black, and parts of the neck plate had black on it. Even the pick guard, the edge of the pick guard had all black spray paint. So, I truly wondered, is it accurate? I could tell by some photos and research using websites like Guitar HQ. They've been really helpful in me learning, and becoming kind of informed on some of this stuff. I knew what to look for. So I was looking at a guitar that was essentially, I couldn't put my finger on the body being 100% real, but everything I saw, from the tuners to, the neck, the pickups, the pots, the pit guard, all of that stuff checked out. The saddles, the bridge assembly, everything was great. I explained my worries, and he said, look, I'll tell you what, I'll send you the guitar. You pay me for the guitar. I'll send you the guitar for 2 days. Spend 2 days with it, look into whatever you need to do, and if you're not satisfied, send the guitar back. I'll give you full refund. I'll cover your shipping and everything. And he was a reputable guy. We handled it directly through PayPal, so I know that there was, I was safe, I was covered. And I said, yeah, man, 59, I really got into, at that time, the history of, I started researching Fender and Fender history, and just the mind of Leo Fender, and how he would visualize a piece of wood, and get a bunch of material from basically a hardware store and stamp it out. And, his mind and the tools he made to make parts to the guitar were just amazing. And, 59 had always drawn me because it was the first year rosewood. And it was just, the year 59. It's not a 62, which is quite common. It's, it's not a 65, which is arguably the most produced Stratocaster ever. It was a 59. I got a 59. And, also Stevie Ray Vaughan was quoted as saying his guitar was a 59, but we knew from, research and, discovery that his guitar was actually a 63. Anyways, getting back to this guitar, it was its own thing. It was the one Stratocaster with 2 different models the same year. So this guitar showed up. It came to me in a Bullwind Fender leather gig bag, black leather gig bag with studs on it, and that's something they offered in the late 60s and 50s. The 50s style were brown, and the 60s were black, but it was such a cool piece. I pulled the guitar out of the gig bag, and I was like, wow. it's nothing like a custom shop. It almost has a smaller look to it, smaller appeal. So I can't explain it. It's just the thicknesses are a little different, and all that, you know, shows as soon as you lay your hands on an old Strat. So right away, I did what any geek would do. I grabbed a screwdriver and I pulled the pick guard off because I wanted to look inside there. Unbeknownst to me, when I pulled the guard off, all of the two-tone, or it was actually three-tone sunburst under this guard still. All of the three-tone sunburst was still there. And it was incredible for me because somebody must have taped off the pick guard and then sprayed the guitar black. What if the rest of the finish is under there somewhere, or majority of the finish is under there? And I started wiping it off with, I remember, mineral spirits and some steel wool, and I started exposing finish. So then came the true test when you get it home. You know, I remember driving home, and the bone nut here, the original nut on it was a little low, so the strings were rattling and buzzing. So I just tapped the nut out, slid a taller one in there. The guitar wasn't set up right or anything like that. You know, I strung it up with my favorite strings, and the pickups were microphonic. But that also led true to something else. They had this characteristic that was very 3D to them. And, you know, when I was initially looking for an old Strat, I was talking to Phil, and he said, dude, you need an old Strat, because when you get one, a good one, the whole guitar is 3D. And I knew what he meant at that moment. The guitar was resonant. I could feel it vibrating through, and it was just killer. And it had great tone. I spent some time adjusting the pickups, and the guitar had no breaks or anything. Next thing I did was take the same mineral spirits and steel wool, and I said, all right, this guitar has got to have a body date somewhere. I knew from research, you know, I knew where to look in the trem cavity, and I wiped it away just enough to expose the body date. So I had a vintage Strat, something that most people, you know, dream about. It was affordable too, you know. I'll full disclosure, I won't give you the exact number, but this guitar right here in all original form was not over $8,000. So for you guys that think, you know, there's money growing on trees for a guy like myself or something like that, or it was really just, you know, I had some cash put aside. I had to put a little bit on a credit card, but I mean, I knew I wanted an old Strat, and I, you know, fought hell or high water to get it. So I mean, it's super obtainable. You just gotta know where to look. I mean, going back to this first purchase to now, I've probably had almost 10 old Stratocasters, and I've never paid through the nose for any of them, and I've always tried to find good ones and, you know, move them along to good people when I do. So I exposed the body date. I checked out the pickups. They were all original windings. The pot dates were correct. I fixed the pot. That one of the shafts on the original pots were broken, and it came in the case. So I you know, being young, I cut a shaft off of a newer pot and epoxied it to there, and then I had all original pots working, and I was like, you know, I'm restoring this guitar. And then I said, well, how do I get this black paint off? At the time, you know, I wasn't friendly with as many restoration guys as I could have been, or you know, confident enough to take on the job myself. So I sent the guitar out. Being young, being excited, waiting to get the guitar back, I didn't really care about much else than just getting my guitar back. So, you know, I got it, and I ended up refretting the guitar. At the first time I refretted it, I put Dunlop 6100 wire in there, and that was good. But I quickly learned how finicky, you know, old Strats can be as far as fret buzz and neck movement and things like that. And then, you know, this is a vintage slab board, you know, slab meaning the neck is flat, the neck is cut flat, and then a slab piece of rosewood is glued on top instead of a laminate board where it's the curvature of the actual radius. This is slab, you know, so this was a chunk of rosewood here, and I didn't want to sand that. So, I mean, refretting an old guitar that's seen some miles and been weathered, you got to do a really, really good job in refretting it. So the first one I had a good friend of mine do, and that worked out great. But I learned, like, when you use heavier strings and high action, and you're really trying to do like those Albert King bends and stuff, you can wear out a set of Dunlop 6100s pretty quick. The only really repairs I had to do to this guitar were I took the pickups out and I sent them to Tom Brantley, who is Geddy Lee. He works on Geddy Lee's pickups, and he's, you know, a pickup winder, pickup repairman to the stars. All I had him do to these pickups was remagnetize them. again, at the time, you know, that's something that now I feel totally comfortable in taking on myself, you know what I mean? But at the time I was so nervous and I didn't want to break anything. You know, I remember sending him the pickups and I taped them down and you know, made sure nothing was going to happen to them, and he remagnetized them and sent them back. No rewinds. All these winds are original, and you know, I'm grateful for that, because these pickups have a sound all their own. I found it in one other Strat, and I'm, you know, always trying to work a deal for that one, but you know, these pickups are very special. We got, you know, your higher 5 in the neck, mid 5s in the middle, and the bridge is actually 4.7K, and it's spiky, it cuts through, and it stays thick. You know, I think a lot of being underwound is you get kind of that thickness and you lose a lot of that, the gain that can be associated with the pickup. So I'm grateful to have this pickup. I do have a spare because eventually I think this one's going to break, so I keep a specific bridge 59 Strat pickup to the side that I purchased just for that reason. You know, and I mean, we still got 3 stack pole pots, and I still have a 3-way switch. You know, I think along the way I've swapped the jack, because it kind of just got a little glitchy. It would make some noise. And the saddles, I did swap over the Highwood saddles just recently. I do have all of these original components that I did swap out. You know what I mean? I just wanted the guitar to play like butter. I ended up really falling in love with stainless fret wire about 2 years ago. I use 57-110 Jescar, or yeah, Jescar wire. Or, you know, it's just been killer, and it's a little harder to shape in the beginning, but I mean, once you get them straight, you know, if you maintain them and you stay up on them, it's incredible. You know, I usually swap the tuners out, but again, I have all of the originals, and that's, you know, that's this guitar. That's my number one favorite guitar. An original whammy bar too. You know, this pretty great that it still works, and I set them up spring wise to be, you know, I don't want the claw to have too much. Very lightly you can bend it, and also at the same time, if I'm playing like a, so this E will still stay in tune. You know, and I just try to set that up and take my time, so I'm not putting a lot of damage on the bar. I'm not putting a lot of damage on the threads inside the block, and just trying to keep the guitar happy and you know, not beating it up. This guitar, I don't know if it's, you know, being a 50s model or so, but the pickups have more of a percussive characteristic to them, where it's not so much very piano-like and very clear. I don't get a lot of gain from these pickups, but it suits me, and you know, I get more of the gain from the amp, just cranking the amp up. I found one other 59 Strat that does similar what these pickups do, so hopefully someday I can get that one too. These pickups, I like to set my pickups a little low, my action super high. You get that great 50s contour still, where it's kind of thin around there. Guitar is lightweight. It's not really a tank at all, and it's just been my number one go-to guitar. All the electronics, capacitor, all that stuff is original and still going. With these old guitars too, it's always nice to take some time and, you know, get yourself a cup of coffee, sit at the table, put a towel down, and just open the guitar up and, you know, inspect it, maybe clean the pots out, and, you know, make sure everything's doing well. And, you know, take a Q-tip with some deoxit on it and just wipe some stuff off. You know, I feel like the guitar appreciates that too. And this has just been my favorite guitar, man. It's been to Texas, it's been to LA, it's been to Seattle, it's been to New York, it's been to Florida, it's been everywhere with me. I don't leave home without this guitar. I take it with me every single day. And this guitar means most to me. This is my number one guitar, my number one Strat. I know the feeling of this guitar. I know the sound of this guitar. This guitar lets me know when I'm playing horribly, and this guitar lets me know when I need to work on things a little more. It's just been a life-changing moment, a life-changing experience getting this guitar. And this is it, my 1959 Strat. I hope you guys appreciate the video, and I gave you a little more detail on my number one favorite guitar. But it's just been my baby forever, and it ain't going nowhere. You know, this guitar obviously got through the 80s period, and somebody added probably a string tree there, one of those hold-down string trees. But, you know, no breaks on the headstock or anything like that. Nothing's been cracked. Like I said, I do change the tuners over. And we just have some smooth wear on the neck. You can see the thin D shape Got my little lady right there. And yeah, man, this is just, I love this thing. You know, the saddles being so new, the Highwood saddles, they're great and they do their job. They're exquisite. It's just, everything looks so brand new compared to an old guitar. But this is the one. So for you guys that asked, there's a look into my 59 Strat. No, I don't have a name for it. I do have the Knuckle Buster case that's supposed to come with 59 Strats, and I string this guitar up with Kurt Mangan 56 to 10 or 11, depending on how I feel. I like my action at about 100 thousandths. I set my pickups low. I use 5 springs in the trem, but I also use the raw vintage springs, so you get a little less oomph from the springs. So if you use 4, you know, Fender springs, maybe use 5, you know, on the raw vintage. But it's just been a great guitar, and that's really all I've done for as far as mods or anything like that. You know, like I said, I did refret it with stainless 57 110, and yeah, that's it. I like a lot of relief too. So there you go, guys. There's my #1 Strat. Peace.